Welcome to the Vitality Equation, exploring research in health and well-being one paper at a time. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic, the role of personalized hydration strategies in optimizing mental health during times of extreme heat. But we're approaching this from a translational perspective, really digging into the research and figuring out how we can apply the findings in new ways to improve people's lives. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, me too. It's not just about drink more water. There's a lot more nuance to it, especially when you start considering the cognitive load of heat stress and how hydration can influence that. It's something that affects all of us, but the impact is often overlooked. So getting in tune with the science is really important. We need to get everyone to understand the basic level of how things work, right?
Absolutely. And I think the personalized aspect is key. What works for one person might not work for another, especially when you factor in things like activity levels, sweat rate, even individual differences in how our bodies regulate temperature.
Exactly. Before we get into the specifics, let's set the stage. We're talking about extreme heat, which we know is becoming increasingly common due to climate change. And it's not just physical discomfort, it can have a significant impact on mental health, leading to increased stress, anxiety, even cognitive impairment.
Right, the cognitive impairment is huge. Studies have shown that even mild dehydration can affect things like concentration, memory, and decision-making. Imagine trying to navigate a stressful situation, like a heat wave power outage, when your brain isn't functioning at its best. It can really spiral.
And that's where personalized hydration comes in. It's about understanding your individual needs and developing a strategy to stay adequately hydrated, not just when you're thirsty, but proactively to mitigate the negative effects of heat stress on your mental well-being. What are the key components of personalized hydration, right?
Well, I think the first step is assessing your individual hydration needs. Factors like body weight, activity level, climate, and even certain medical conditions can all influence how much fluid you need each day. You can even go as far as tracking your sweat rate during exercise to get a more precise estimate.
And let's not forget the type of fluids you're consuming. Water is great, of course, but electrolytes are also crucial, especially during periods of intense sweating. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, these minerals are essential for nerve and muscle function, and they're lost through sweat. So simply drinking plain water might not be enough to fully rehydrate and replenish those lost electrolytes. Some people are really missing out on key minerals, right?
Exactly. That's why sports drinks can be helpful, but you have to be mindful of the sugar content. There are also electrolyte tablets or powders that you can add to water, which is a healthier option. And don't forget about food. Many fruits and vegetables like watermelon, cucumbers, and celery have high water content and can contribute to your overall hydration.
That's a great point, Sarah. I think people often overlook the role of food in hydration. And it's not just about water content, but also the electrolytes and other nutrients that these foods provide. I read something recently about how different meditation techniques affect the microbiome. Maybe similar mechanisms are in play here, subtle shifts in gut bacteria composition that impact our overall resilience in these kind of situations.
That's a really interesting angle, the microbiome connection. It's also interconnected, isn't it? I'm curious, going back to the cognitive side of things, how can we use personalized hydration as a kind of cognitive buffer against heat stress? Like, are there specific cognitive tasks or situations where optimized hydration can make the biggest difference?
I think that's a fantastic question. We know that heat stress can impair cognitive function, particularly tasks that require attention, focus, and working memory. So, optimizing hydration could be particularly beneficial in situations where those cognitive skills are critical, like during exams, presentations, or even just trying to focus at work on a hot day. It might also make sense for athletes in outdoor sports.
Right. Think about first responders, construction workers, anyone who's working outdoors in extreme heat. Their jobs require them to be mentally sharp and physically coordinated, and dehydration can significantly impair their performance and increase their risk of accidents. In my world of lifestyle-based interventions, I'm always thinking about how simple, accessible practices can have a powerful impact. What if we could develop a personalized hydration plan that not only keeps them physically safe, but also helps them maintain their cognitive function and decision-making abilities in those high-pressure situations?
That reminds me of a study I saw a while back on the effects of dehydration on driving performance. They found that even mild dehydration significantly impaired driving skills, similar to driving under the influence of alcohol. So imagine the implications for truck drivers, delivery drivers, anyone who spends a lot of time behind the wheel in hot weather. Personalized hydration strategies could literally save lives.
Absolutely. And it's not just about immediate performance, but also long-term health. Chronic dehydration can contribute to a number of health problems, including kidney stones, constipation, and even an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So by prioritizing personalized hydration, we're not only improving our mental and physical performance in the short term, but also investing in our long-term health and well-being. It's a really big deal.
So how do we translate this research into practical, actionable advice that people can actually use? What are some concrete steps that people can take to develop their own personalized hydration strategies?
Well, I think the first step is awareness. People need to understand the importance of hydration and how it affects their mental and physical health. That means educating them about the signs and symptoms of dehydration, like fatigue, headache, dizziness, and dark urine. But also teaching them how to assess their individual hydration needs based on their activity level, climate, and other factors. And it should be easily accessible, like having hydration reminders on your smartwatch.
Yeah, tracking is key. I recommend people start by tracking their fluid intake for a few days to get a sense of how much they're currently drinking. There are a lot of apps that can help with this, or you can simply use a notebook. Then, they can start making adjustments based on their individual needs and goals. For example, if they're planning a long workout, they'll need to increase their fluid intake before, during, and after exercise. And it's not a bad idea to weigh yourself before and after to see how much fluid you've lost through sweat. It would be great to personalize it to each person.
I agree. And I think it's important to emphasize that hydration isn't just about drinking water. It's about incorporating a variety of hydrating fluids and foods into your diet. Things like herbal teas, coconut water, and even bone broth can be great options. And of course, plenty of fruits and vegetables. The key is to find what works best for you and make it a sustainable part of your daily routine.
One thing I'm curious about is the psychological aspect of hydration. Like, could our beliefs about hydration influence its actual effects? For example, if someone believes that drinking a certain amount of water will improve their focus, could that belief actually enhance their cognitive performance, even if they're not technically dehydrated? It reminds me of the placebo effect and how powerful the mind can be. Could CBT techniques be applied here to change the way we think about hydration?
That's a fascinating point. The placebo effect is definitely a powerful phenomenon. And it wouldn't surprise me if our beliefs about hydration could influence its effects, at least to some extent. I mean, we know that our thoughts and emotions can influence our physiology in many ways, so it's not a stretch to imagine that our beliefs about hydration could affect our cognitive performance or even our perception of thirst. How about adding hydrating exercises?
Yeah, that's something to look into. On a similar note, I wonder if different mindfulness techniques could enhance the benefits of hydration. Like, could focusing on the sensation of drinking water or cultivating a sense of gratitude for the nourishment it provides amplify its positive effects on our mental and physical well-being? I feel like there is something there, right?
It's all about creating a positive feedback loop, right? The more we focus on the positive aspects of hydration, the more likely we are to stick with it and experience its benefits. And the more benefits we experience, the more motivated we are to continue prioritizing hydration. It's a virtuous cycle.
And I think that's why personalization is so important. When we tailor our hydration strategies to our individual needs and preferences, we're more likely to find something that we enjoy and can stick with in the long term. And that's the key to unlocking the full potential of personalized hydration for optimizing mental health and overall well-being. This is the part where sleep helps as well, right?
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of personalized hydration for mental health during times of extreme heat. We've discussed how to assess individual needs, the role of electrolytes, and the potential psychological and mindfulness aspects of hydration. But what about future research directions? Where do we go from here?
From a cognitive perspective, I'd love to see more research on the specific cognitive mechanisms by which dehydration impairs mental function. What specific brain regions are affected, and how does dehydration alter their activity? And can we develop targeted cognitive interventions, like specific CBT techniques, to mitigate those effects? Maybe we could also try to identify genetic markers that make certain individuals more susceptible to the cognitive effects of dehydration. That could lead to even more personalized interventions.
I'm interested in exploring the role of exercise in optimizing hydration and mental health. Can specific types of exercise, like high-intensity interval training or yoga, improve our body's ability to regulate fluid balance and cope with heat stress? And how does exercise affect our thirst perception and fluid intake? Also, more research is needed on the optimal timing of hydration in relation to exercise. Should we be front-loading our fluids before a workout or focusing on replenishing them afterwards? There's just so much to unpack there. It would be great if we could measure how exercise affects cellular mechanisms in the body.
Building on that, I'd like to see more research on the potential of lifestyle interventions like meditation and mindful eating to enhance the benefits of hydration. Can these practices improve our body's ability to regulate fluid balance, reduce inflammation, and promote overall resilience to stress? I'm also curious about the role of the gut microbiome in hydration. Could specific probiotic strains or dietary interventions improve our body's ability to absorb and utilize fluids? And what about the potential for personalized hydration apps that integrate mindfulness techniques and track individual progress? Maybe even add some AI to give suggestions, right?
Those are all great ideas. And I think it's important to emphasize that this is a multidisciplinary field. We need researchers from different backgrounds, neuroscientists, physiologists, psychologists, nutritionists, working together to fully understand the complex interplay between hydration, mental health, and overall well-being.
Definitely. And we need to translate this research into practical, actionable advice that people can actually use. That means developing clear, concise guidelines for personalized hydration and making those guidelines easily accessible to everyone.
Okay, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. We've covered a lot of ground today and hopefully given our listeners some valuable insights into the role of personalized hydration in optimizing mental health during times of extreme heat. Thanks for joining me. It was a really great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fascinating.
Definitely. Until next time.